Hey, in today's video, we're going to be going over how to install recessed lighting in an existing kitchen. But there's going to be a couple twists because one of the missions we have is to not cut any drywall. In other words, we're only going to put the holes in the ceiling to get the lighting in, and that's it. We have to figure out ways to get the rest of it done without putting any additional holes in the walls or the ceilings. Now, I knew this was a criteria before I started, so let me show you where we are already, and I'll tell you what I've done so far to get to this point to determine if it's even possible to make this mission a reality. So, first things first, I actually had purchased a couple lights. So we have these, and they are different styles. They have different backings. One's flatter, one will tilt, because I wasn't sure about the placement. Now, the other thing I had to do was go figure out where all the floorboards are, because there's a second floor above us, so I had to know where all those boards were and if we were even able to get access to it. And then the third thing I did is, you can see the blue tape. I've put it up there and did a rough layout. I'm gonna have to come back with the laser and get this perfectly straight and make sure all the lights are where they need to be and in a straight line. But I wanted to do a rough layout because, again, we had to do the arrangement, see if it was going to work. And what I've determined is that these lights, because of the way we have to place them, based on the window, the cabinets, and the proximity to the wall, I need to switch these from 6-inch lights to 4-inch lights. So these are going to be 4 inchers. This will be a 6-inch. These lights over here above the stove and the refrigerator and this cabinet and the oven, this will be a 6-inch, a 6-inch, and a 6-inch. Now the floorboards are running in this direction. They're running this way. So what I need to do is I need to run this wire here. Okay, I need to take the wire out of this box, or use this box, I should say, and run a new wire, this way, and then work that way, and then this way, and then I'll come along this wall here. And this wall will be easy because all I have to do is drill holes in the drywall. There's no wood to drill through. Those are going to be more difficult over there because I have to drill through the floorboards to get the wires from light to light. And that's going to be the tricky part. That's going to be the thing that is going to be challenging, to not damage the drywall and have to repaint the ceiling. I'm not sure I can do that. I think I can, but we're going to have to check. And then the other thing I had to do was make sure that we could get from this switch. This is actually a single switch right now, but it's a double box. It might be hard to tell, but I can take I can add another box, faceplate in there, whatever you want to call it. But anyhow, I'll be able to make a double out of that because the box accommodates it. So everything looks like it's okay. I also ran that fish tape all the way from that box to here to make sure that it would reach and we were able to get the wire in. And the other complexity, one thing that's good and one thing that's bad is it's all metal. So it's metal conduit. So I have to use metal. And that makes it a little challenging to get the new wire in. It's not just Romex where you can stick it through the hole and run it and pull it through real easily. I have to get metal in there. I have to get metal conduit in there and do that without damaging the drywall. So that's a little trickier. Now on the positive side, it was a heck of a lot easier to get from there to that switch. Okay, so I'm not going to run this live. I'm going to start and stop because there's a lot of planning, a lot of dead time in this project. Just planning out where to put all these. Like for example, you see how we'll put the lights in based on how the existing cabinets are. We couldn't just take the spacing that we wanted. We want to base things off of alignment with the existing cabinets. Like there, that centers on that cabinet. This one comes in right in the center of that, between the window and the wall. This one centers in on the light itself. That one centers on the wall. This one goes over the cabinet. You can see how this one is in between and centered on the refrigerator. This one is centered on the oven, but really we had to start there because that's where our wire run goes. It would have been very difficult to not put a light there and start as our main hub for branching off. And then this one, of course, we want this over the stove, and we wanted to push this one in so that shines down and gives better light while you're cooking. Same thing here. I don't really like them that close to the wall. I would have pulled them out just a little bit, but the floorboard is there, so I had to put it on either one side or the other. If I put it on that side, it's close to the wall and I need to switch to a 4-inch. If I put it on the other side, it's too far from the counter, and then you're going to get shadows as the light shines down and you're trying to work at the counter. So those are all the things that we had to take into account, the way the floorboards were running, the positioning of them, the placement of the lights. So it actually took a lot of time to rough this out. And like I said, we still have to get this in perfect alignment. We're gonna use a laser to make sure all these line up perfectly, because it'll look terrible if you don't have perfect alignment of your lights. They all have to be perfectly centered, or it will show up once you get them installed. All right, to do this project, one of the things we're going to need is a hole cutter, something big enough to cut the holes into the drywall for these recessed lights to set into. Now, I usually like to try out new tools, and I saw this one. It's a Cobalt, has this unique graphite cutters, and it's a dedicated tool just for 6-inch recessed lighting. So I thought, well, that looks cool. I'll try this one out. And because I wasn't sure how it was going to work, I also bought the Milwaukee. Okay, now Milwaukee makes these, Klein makes these, there's probably some others as well, but this one is adjustable. It goes anywhere from 2 to 7 inches, but it only has a couple cutting blades. You see, it only has 2 cutting blades, and you know, I thought this one looks much better because it has a bunch of cutting blades on it. Now, the problem is I have 1, 2, 3, 4 different styles of lights, and only one actually will work with a 6 3/8 inch hole. The others need like a 6 1/8 hole, so that means it's a 1/4 inch too big, and I can't adjust it. So while this is a good concept, it looks like a good tool, make sure that you get a hole cutter that fits the size lights you're actually going to use. If I had a hole template that actually said 6 3/8, I would definitely use this one, but I can't, because the light I'm most likely going to use is this one. I'm not even 100% sure, but very likely is going to be this light. So then I need to use this one. But even if I were to know I was going to use it, I would still buy a new tool, because I always want to start with a fresh cutting tool when I have something that I know depends on a good clean cut. In this case, we don't want to tear the paper. We want all our holes to be very clean. And starting with a new tool is the right way to go. It's 30 bucks. Both of them are about 30 bucks, 35 bucks, somewhere in that range. And you get this dust cover. You gotta have a dust cover, because if you cut these holes without a dust cover, you will make a huge mess in your house, and it's very difficult to clean up. This will capture about 90% of the dust and make your life a lot easier and your project a lot cleaner. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Okay, what I'm doing now is I'm transferring my lines from the laser. So I'm using this laser, putting the lines up on the ceiling, and then I put the painter's tape up and transferred my line onto the painter's tape. To get my final position, I will then cross it coming this way. So first I'm going to go in one direction, and then I'll do the cross and make sure that everything is lined up in both directions. Okay, so what I've also done is I've keyed in here off of this surface. So each dimension there is 17 inches, and then it transfers onto the center of that cabinet. So the whole thing is in alignment, and it's parallel with the wall, which is really important. I mean, it's okay to be straight, but if you don't have the lights set up parallel to the wall, it's going to look really bad. All right, now I'm coming across, I'm going perpendicular and getting my final target. So what you can see is that laser now is coming right down in the middle of those cabinets. This provides, or this creates a little bit of a problem, because the refrigerator isn't perfectly centered on those cabinets. So I then have to choose between centering on the refrigerator and the cabinets, but since refrigerators come and go, cabinets stay forever, and it's closer to the cabinets, I'm going to center it on the cabinets because that's permanent and closer. All right, I'm doing the same thing here. I'm coming perpendicular, I'm getting my final point. And of course, where the two lines cross, that is where I'm going to center my hole. And naturally, I'm going to double check all these mechanically, because sometimes even using technology, allows you to screw up just in a more dramatic way. So I'm going to get these all perfect with the laser. I'm going to come across here now and we're going to do these and get this in a perfectly straight line. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure this one out from the wall. And I'm going to come over here. I'm going to measure this one out from the wall, and then I'm going to make sure my laser hits both of those lines so that every one of these lights is nice and straight and parallel with this wall here. All right, this is my last layout mark. I have everything laid out. Everything is crisscrossed and ready for drilling. So now we're at the point of no return. And let's see how it goes. All right, one of the things I wanted to show you, because it's not intuitive, when you get this tool, you can adjust it from 2 to 7 inches, and it has a scale. I can't tell if you can see it there, but it tells you what size this is currently set to, but there's no obvious way to adjust it. So what you have to do is you have to take this off, okay? Then you pull the drill bit out, all right? And now you can just push it in and out, okay? And of course, you want to make sure that both sides are equal, and then when you're done, put this back in, put this back on, and this is locked in place, okay? So again, not intuitive, but very simple, actually pretty crafty, and no tools needed. All right, let's put this thing all together, and then let's go put our first hole in and see if this project is going to work, or if we're gonna have to do a lot more than we want to, all right? All right, this is gonna be very messy, so wear a mask and get a good one. This is a very high-end dust mask. So, don't get those cheap ones. They don't keep the dust out of your mouth and out of your nose. So protect yourself. And I always wear safety glasses. All right, that was a nice clean hole. And as you can see, the dust was kept down to a minimum. Now, I like using that corded drill just because it's impossible to stop it, and thing's got tons of power. So it's really a great drill to use, and I highly recommend it. All right, we got a little bit of good luck because if you see that steel beam in there, oops, I don't know if you can see it. There's a steel beam right there. I don't have to cut through any of the floorboards because I can just slide it right under that. So that gets me to that hole nice and easily. Now the trouble I'm gonna run into is that all these are sitting on these beams and I've got no place to work really. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to get from here over to there. That's gonna be the tricky one. So we'll see what happens. All right, I got my first piece run. And like I said, we have to run metal conduit. So basically just rigged this piece up. I ran the wires through it and then I tied it off here because I needed to pull it in there. Now I'll show you what I used. I used this right angle because I have to access this through, I'll show you. I have to access this through the top. So I didn't want it to be at a hard angle. So I put that right angle on and then it slid right in there. Then I've got it taped off here, just pulled it through. I'll put the nut on and that'll be it. That'll be my first run. And then I got to start moving it left and right. All right, so a lot of these things are being done up in the ceiling and, you know, frankly, it makes for a really boring video. So I didn't spend a lot of time taking video of me actually doing it because all these things are being done up above like that and you can't see what I'm doing. Now I want to tell you that this is a tricky project. These are things that unless you are very good with your hands and you have a lot of tools, you probably shouldn't try it yourself for an existing house. Now this hole from here, get to there, over to that one took me a really long time. It was really hard. And it took a lot of different twists and turns. I ended up having to stick a camera up there because using the phone trick, you know, putting your phone up there and using that camera didn't work because the hole is too small and I just couldn't get back to where I needed to get. But in the end, that hole up there, this one, and this one, those were very time consuming and it took me a long time to get those. This last one here, up here, that was a little tricky, but not so bad. These holes here, all those above the sink, along this counter, these are really easy because these are going parallel with the floor joist. So there was really nothing to it. All you do is drill the holes and then run the, you know, the wiring through it. Now you see that I'm using metal conduit, you know, metal BX, flexible conduit. Anyhow, I don't recommend that you use this. I only use it because I have to. You know, we have to do this for code in this particular county, so I did it. But there's really no value. I mean, if we were just running Romex, this would have taken a lot less time, would have been a lot easier. And, you know, even here you see where there's a lot hanging out. Well, that's because I had to take a whole bunch of twists and turns. Same thing there. I had to take a whole bunch of twists and turns to get that wire through, and I didn't know exactly how long it was going to require as I'm pulling it left, right, back, forth, all the rest of it. So I always cut it extra long, and then I'll shorten it up, tighten up, you know, all the lengths and make it neat. But I had to do that. Now this next one, this last one here, these are 4-inch holes. They're really hard to work in. And I'm going to try to use a right angle drill and get over to this one here because this one I haven't drilled yet. Now there's two ways I can do this. I can either go all the way from there because that's going to be just a easy long run. I just have to waste a lot of material and just run it right from that light all the way down here. Or I can do the right angle drill, pop over and then fish it out over to, which is what I want to do. That's my first choice. Now, if I run into a problem, I mean, yeah, I'll waste the material if I have to, but I just don't want to. I want to do it, you know, the short, you know, what I'd call the smart way. And then the other thing I have to consider is where I want to put this light. I didn't mark this one because I wasn't sure. You know, sometimes you get to this point and you've done all this layout and you've put a lot of things into consideration as to where the lights go and how you're going to do them. But this one I'm not sure about. You know, I want to center it off here, off the pantry. That's logical. But then I wasn't sure whether I should do a 6-inch light because those three are 6-inch over there. This is a could be either a 6-inch or a 4-inch. Now, if I do a 6-inch, I'm going to pull it back and tie it into that one over the stove so that those are in line with each other, and that'll look okay. But now that I'm at this point, I think I'm changing my mind, and I think I'm going to go with a 4-inch because it's closer to these 4-inch lights, and then I'm going to pull it into the same dimension away from the soffit as the rest of those 4-inchers. So I think that's the way I'm going to go. The trouble with the 4-inch though is that you can't work. You know, it's hard to get in there. All you can do is stick one arm in there. At least with the 6-inchers, you can, you know, poke your head up there a little bit. You can see what you're doing. You can dig an arm in there and you can fish things out. So I don't know. This could be, I'm going to go with a 4-inch. But, you know, once that hole's cut, then the hole saw, you can't use it again. Then I got to do it by hand, then it gets sloppier. So I don't know. You know, there's all these things you got to consider when you're doing a project like this. And I think I'm going to try the 4-inch though. I think if I do the 4-inch hole, the 4-inch light, and then do a hole from there through the floor rafter, and then come over here. And I know I'm mixing my terms up, but you know what I mean. I keep saying truss, rafter, all that stuff, but who cares, right? The whole point is I want to go from there, drill a 90-degree hole that way, right, away from the wall, and then bring it this way to this spot here. That's what I'm going to do next. All right, I mentioned I'm going to be putting a hole in there using a 90-degree right angle drill. So I like this Milwaukee. It's not as powerful as some of the others. This is only the M12, but the reason I like it is very small. So it's a very tiny profile here. So if I want to get in just a little 4-inch hole and still want to be able to drill, I need something extremely small so I don't damage the drywall. And then the other thing I like to do is, again, I like these type of speed bore bits. They work very well, but what I always do, whenever I'm coming into one of these projects, I always start with new material. Now, if I don't use it, okay, you can, you know, either take it back or just keep it for the next project. But it's just one of those things, if you use old gear, if you use old bits, old sandpaper, old drill bits, old saw blades, you're always working harder, all right? So if you think about what your time is worth on a project, go ahead, get new material and use new material so that you're always getting better results, cleaner holes, better cuts, and you know, you're not working hard. So these things are cheap, you know, just get new ones. And if you don't hit a nail, fine, use them again. But if you hit any debris, if they start to get a little bit worn, beat up, get rid of them and start with new ones. You'll do a better job. All right, I forgot to mention one thing. When you are drilling and you're going through here and you want to go that way, okay, you're going through a floorboard going this way, all right, but you want to eventually go this way or that way, well, make sure you drill on that angle, okay? Don't drill it straight, drill on the angle that you want the wires to go, so when you push them through, they start kind of going in that direction, because if they go straight, well, they could go left or they could go right. But if they're already going to the left and you push it, it's going to deflect and go to the left, which is the way you want it to go. So I was able to just drill a hole and push that metal flex right through. I didn't have to even fish it through. I just pushed it through, and because it was already going in that direction, it already went the way I wanted to. I just reached in, grabbed it, and that was the end of it. So always drill in the direction you want your wires to go. All right, here's another quick tip I want to share with you. Remember I said that these were all pulled too long. You know, I had all that excess metal hanging out, and you know, you don't want to do that. That's just bad. Okay, so I already had the wires run through this one though. All right, this one was run through, and I cut this piece off. All right, but what can happen though is now I run the risk of nicking that wire, all right, because this tool here, okay, this tool basically has a saw blade, and you're sawing through the metal to get it to come apart. So what happens if you nick that wire? Now you've got a problem, don't you? So to avoid having any problems, what I do is I just pull this wire long. Okay, I pulled it out of this end. All right, so this one's extra long. It's much longer than I need it. So now after I cut it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this out. So I'll let that wire go to the length I want it. Now this wire is way too long, and this right here is where I was cutting. So this part used to be here, but now it's way down here, and I'm gonna cut it off. And if I did nick it, you know, if I couldn't see where I nicked it and I did it, well, it's gone now, isn't it? Okay, the last part of the project, we had to put in a new switch, and this is a switch with a dimmer on it, so it's got a dimmer built in, and we had to turn this from a single switch to a double switch to make room for this one, and then this one still controls the old light that it used to be controlled by that switch. So we went from a single to a double, and we added a dimmer onto the switch that controls the LEDs, and now let's go for the big reveal, and ta-da, there we go. Everything came out tight, everything's straight. I'll give you a shot down here. You can see everything is in perfect alignment. Okay, the 6-inch, and then that 4-inch. And it's a perfect alignment. And then let's come down here. And again, it's a little harder to see this one, but again, perfect alignment on all these 4-inchers. This one, I'm gonna come from the other angle. Whoops. And there we go. This is from the other angle, but you can see it's tight. Everything is straight. Everything is exactly on target, just the way it was laid out. And that's the benefit of using a laser. Now the next thing we need to do is get that light changed out, this light changed out, and modernize those lights so that they match up better with the new recessed lighting that's been put in. Now I'm going to come over here. I'm just going to dim it so you can see the effect. It's daytime now, so it's a little harder to see, but you can see just how much it changes. So big difference. I mean, if it were nighttime, this would be a great look just to have this, you know, dimmed down at night so it's not as bright. I mean, right now when we're at full power, it's almost too bright. It really adds a huge amount of light into this room. But you know, the nice thing with the dimmer, of course, you can put it anywhere you want it for your conditions. And then when I turn it off and turn it on with this dimmer, the way it's set up, you see that dimmer keeps its position until you change it. So if I like this intensity for the daytime, I just leave it here. So now turn it on, turn it off, and the intensity of these lights stay as it is. If I really want to crank it up, you know, just come over here, or if I want to set the mood, come this way.
And finally, let's take a look at how the kitchen is transformed at night. As you can see, it's dark out, which of course in the winter it gets dark out awfully quick, so you spend a lot of time in the dark. And here's what happens now when we turn the lights on. Right now they're set very low. I'm going to shut this off. You can get this effect. So that's what it looks like with just the lights on dimmed. If we want to crank things up, we can turn this light on and now really open it up so we can see what the heck we're doing, if we're cooking, entertaining, you know, whatever the case might be. And shut this off. Maybe dim this down a little bit. To me, that's a little harsh. Now the other thing you can do with these lights is you can change the color. Right now they're set at daylight, but there's three-way selectable. You can make these lights warmer if you want to get more yellow tones in. So if you look right now, this light is more of a yellow light, more of a warm light, but it's kind of a yellow tone. And then we'll put this back on. Turn it up to about midway. And this is probably a little bit what you would do, a little bit more towards what you would do just if you were, you know, using the kitchen as a standard kitchen. everyday life. I mean, and just put it on, keep it on at night. Remember, these LED lights are extremely efficient. So leaving these on like this is not going to be a problem. It's not going to really consume much electricity. And that's it. Now you see what it's like to install them, and you see what it's like during the day and at night.
Okay, that's it for this part of the video. The last thing I'm going to do is break down and display the tools, and some of the tricks and tips and problems that I ran into in this project. So I'll let you know what to watch out for here in the next phase of this video.